For many thousands of years, women have lived as a subject people. And the women's movement is not just something new or today, it's several centuries old. And it's an enormous historical change in the position of women in society. You cannot change the position of such a large population as women without changing the social structure entirely, without changing education, health, and politics, certainly the economy.
When I was first at the farm, which was in 1974, and at that time it was just a farm. There was no community. She had these ideas about, having a lot of people there, and I thought, this is really crazy. Out in the middle of nowhere, how is she going to get all these people here?
And you start to think to yourself, what the fuck am I doing here? Why am I here helping this woman?
I think he's trying to develop an artist community.
I hoped and I prayed and I really did a whole lot of hoping that I'd get in. And I got in.
I heard they had steak a lot.
I wanted to see if we could find some little corner of the world to live in where we could, live a life we imagined but couldn't live in the rest of the world. And what we call laughingly here the real world.
We heard about the farm through Lesbian Connection. It was the first time I'd ever seen anything like an advertisement type of thing like that. Like, this is what we do and who we are, and you're welcome to come.
My initial reason for coming here was just I was so thrilled when I saw the ad that the women were going to work together to build something for each other and other women. And that, to me, was just like a spark when I read that ad, because as long as I can remember, that's what I thought would be just wonderful if women would do something together to help each other. And I thought, this is it, and it is.
I was really excited about being part of the women's community, women's colony. I'm straight, and I'm one of the few straight women here.
When I came, I was awed by the whole thing.
I mean, she has a dream here. This isn't all for nothing.
Yeah, and when Kate says, okay, what are you going to work on today? And I want you to do this. And you come back and say, well, there aren't any tools. There aren't the right tools to do this. And she'll say, do it. It's got to be done today. Do it. And you go off and you find some crappy screwdriver or something, and you figure out how to do it, and you make it work. And then you're just amazed.
I have always been excited about this place, even before I got here. And I can't even tell you where that comes from, except I really felt that if her books were that powerful, being here was going to be just potent. It was just going to be so wonderful. And that's been true. Why Kate Millett? This gets into these sort of funny questions about destiny. The mainstream knows her as a feminist. Lesbian subculture knows her as a profound thinker and profound reporter of lesbian experience.
She writes literature, it's not just all politics, and she makes prints, which I didn't know that she did, silk screens. She's involved with the issues of torture. I mean, I guess intellectually, Kate is an anarchist.
It's a big change every year coming from the Bowery up to the farm, because the farm is very beautiful and the Bowery is very terrible. But living on the Bowery all those years was a very good preparation for taking on this farm. Because if you can survive on the Bowery, you can maybe even make it if you're going to take a go-down farm and put it back together again. And we needed that toughness.
What I think Kate does is she inspires caring. She tells the story of the farm from her standpoint, how her vision of this place when she bought it, her 10 years of heartbreaking, backbreaking work, the soul of the place becomes known. And in my case, I really just wanted to join it.
My initial
reason for coming is I really have a commitment to a colony for women writers and artists. There are a lot of colonies for writers and artists, but I don't think there are many primarily for women. And the goal of the colony is to give women that space. And women who've been here and volunteered can then come back. And a lot of women writers and artists don't have much money. And to have a place like that to come to is something that I was willing to contribute my time and money to.
Well, it's kind of like being in love, with a project, an idea, a notion. And like most of that sort of thing, you don't always enjoy every moment of it. But I think what I get out of it is I want to make something to share with other women, and I want to give something back.
This place has been rebuilt on the backs and of the sweat of the brows of people who are very young and very idealistic and will do it.
God, everybody was so goddamn tired. But people kept right on going, and people kept really being okay to each other.
It's hot, and you wish you could be in shorts and a t-shirt, and everyone gets poison ivy. It's really a drag, and you complain. But I didn't mind the poison ivy that much. I got a pretty bad case, but somehow I just don't think any place, every place has to have its nasty aspect. And for me, nature has its poison ivy and its copperheads, and you gotta watch out for them. And it's horse flies and mosquitoes and ticks.
There's a challenge here to survive in a community of people, and to survive in a real good way. And that's part of the learning process here too.
This is true education. This is my idea of what a school should be.
Yeah, absolutely.
A school should be a place where people gather to offer their best and to be challenged.
It takes a certain amount of patience, a great deal of patience. It takes being level-headed. It takes a lot of humility. You can be whoever you are. You can be a straight-A student, but you're faced with mitering a corner in carpentry, and you just don't know what you're doing. And it's a humility to say, I don't know what I'm doing, teach me.
Another thing that I actually wanted to do for a long time was farm work and construction work. I really wanted to do those two things. And I had considered taking a carpentry class in New York, and of course, always too busy to do it, and take a summer at a farm and learn something about farm work. But again, the time just didn't come up. So it's been great to do some of that, and I've really enjoyed it. It's been fun, and I really like construction work.
After we pay the taxes and the insurance, we have enough money to make some minor repairs, like broken pipes and stuff. And then in the summer, we even have a little money left that we can improve things with. Like we painted the whole farmhouse, we rebuilt the porch, we put on a new roof on the front. Courageous work. And maybe next year we'll get all those beautiful decks on the lavender house we were going to build and fix it up. So we can, in this time while we're waiting for the crop, make everything here all fixed and ready. The studios are all built, the barns are converted. Now these are sort of final improvements, kind of. And that's, we managed somehow to keep this place going on nothing. And then what it doesn't earn through renting itself out in the winter is me. I mean, I bought the farm, I bought all the land. I've, paid for everything that had to be paid for. But we've been trying all along to get the farm to be self-sufficient, which it almost is now.
I love the work in the field. It's a very direct kind of physical action, and you do it and it's over. And I actually am in a lot better shape than I thought I was. I loved working in the field, the carpentry work. For women who haven't done like farm work or carpentry work, at first it's kind of overwhelming to think about, putting on a roof or whatever people do here, putting up a door, doing all these things. But if you get into it, there's a real sense when you finish that you've challenged yourself.
What makes it work is just sweat, work. I mean, you gotta get out there and do it.
Oh, some of the common questions are, what do you mean you don't get paid? What do you mean you have to pay? Which, trying to explain the food contribution is a trip and a half.
It still costs a lot to farm. One of the ways that we support the farm is by making pictures. Like we buy our equipment with pictures. We bought our little red tractor, which is just the best tractor in the world, and we could never clear without it, and we couldn't maintain our fields without it. And it took us 2.5 years of saving picture money. And last year when I went to the Women's Film Festival, or Music Festival rather, in Santa Barbara in California, we sold a lot of pictures, silkscreens, that we made over the summer. And we paid off all our debts. And the farm was $2,000 in debt at that moment, at the end of the season. And in one sweep with pictures, we paid for it all. But usually we don't get very good big sweeps. But we just piddle along. That's how it runs itself. And every cent I can get hold of, I put into it. And then the people who come in the summer, they all chip in for food. So that all of us, I do too, we all collectively contribute to our eating expenses. And the rest of it, somehow or another, we manage.
What I find to be most important is, am I happy? Is this fulfilling me? Is this furthering who and what I am? And I'd have to say I've got ample proof that it is. And that's what I finally say to people who bother with this sort of petty shit of the food contribution and not getting paid.
The group dynamics here are fascinating.
I feel just, so happy to know all these women, all of them, every one of them. I'm surprised, I don't usually go places where I like 100% of the people.
I think it's the most fun people who are sort of outlaws who get here for the summer.
I think we're making a kind of heaven on earth here, and I adore it. And I love living with other women these months in the summer. I love living in a community. I love how much we get done. I love our big dinners. I love our laughter. I love going swimming. It's, it's like paradise. It's like youth. It's like this tremendous hopefulness. And the possibility that we can make all this ourselves. Plumb it, wire it, light it, and put music in it. That we can build an entire world, even a little world, but still a whole world that's ours, where we are completely in charge and completely free to create and completely competent and self-sufficient. And it's the life beyond the revolution, and why not have a little bit of it now, a couple months a year anyway. It's how we really want to live, finally, so that there's a model, instead of just dredging along with the picket sign. It's time for us now to begin to make the places and spaces where we can be ourselves and live just as we want.
It's like I come here to grow. And I feel like I'm rooted here. I'm like one of the trees. I just keep growing. I come here and I get strength to go out. I come here, I work with women, and everybody works together.
If you're an artist, it's always going to be art, or it should be to be a good artist, to be really precise and focused. One of the things that this place is, it's an art piece. It's a landscape of art. When I discovered that art was a reflection of reality, it was profound. It was just profound.
It's to create a way of being, and a way of being with other people that is beyond our present, not just our social structure, our political structure and stuff, but even how people feel about each other, the dynamic between people, the space around their bodies, the way their eyes connect, so that you could experiment with the idea of a peaceable kingdom, a world of our own where everything here is of our making.
All of the lessons I learned this particular summer, I'm learning a lot of humility. I guess I always learn humility here.
I don't know what my parents or people of my parents' class would think about the kinds of things that I'm doing here, whether they would value it. So, I look at it and I say, wouldn't it be neat if they could see what I'm doing? All the beautiful things I've made here that are really legitimate.
That's why I'm back, is I did get an incredible amount of encouragement from Kate herself for writing, which I've written since I was 7, but have never done for a livelihood. And since I've been to the farm in the last 4 years, what I do is edit. So I'm the closest I've ever been to doing my life's work. And I know it has to do with being here. There's no doubt in my mind.
Well, we used to say in the early days in the movement that when we had a really good party or a really good time, we'd tease and say that this was life after the revolution. I wanted to do that on a big scale. I wanted to see if we could find some little corner of the world to live in where we could, live a life we imagined but couldn't live in the rest of the world. I really thought it'd be fun. I sort of wanted life to be a party too, and to live in a circle of friends.
Very blessed. And I don't know if you feel it the same way, but it's sort of amazing. The farm, I feel like it's not just in its cruising speed. It's not a dream or a hope or an ambition or, a sparkle in our eye anymore. I thought, gee, this is kind of special. This is maybe the best Aubonne there ever was. And I think it is. And I think it has all sort of taken shape now, and it is working. Aubonne is the feast of All Souls in the Eastern world, and it's the time when all those who have died or have preceded us come back, and both the world of the living and the dead and the past and the present meet and converge. And tonight we have a full moon too. What we do is we will write things, anything, a word, a phrase, the name of somebody we love. On that piece of paper, you will write your wish, your dream, the memory of someone you loved who died, whatever fantasy, whatever deep thought you have will get folded up on that piece of paper and it will be burned on the great boat. Then we'll go into the little boats. So we're just sort of starting out on this sort of the ritualistic element of this. And then all those things will be put on the great boat, which will then be burned in the center of the lake. Because the ideogram for that is the same ideogram as revolution. So the fire in the lake, remember the great book on Vietnam? Fire in the Lake is also the Chinese ideogram for revolution. So that's the meaning of Obon. It's the harvest feast, the All Souls, but it is also the end of one cycle and the beginning of another, which is why it's our sacred feast, where we celebrate that we survived another year. It's number 13. We will do the lanterns that are the individual souls of each of us. They will burn for a very long time, and we'll have special music for that. And then when we've watched all of the little boats across the pond for quite a while, then the big music will start, and we hope the neighbors will be understanding, and then we will probably dance all night.
I really thought it'd be fun. I wanted to make a new way to live and try it out. And I think I wanted to make something that would go on after I died. Maybe it's just to live in the moment, too.